I want to give you guys a bit of an update about Belarus and what's happening here. It's currently early to mid-June 2022. I just want to give you guys an honest appraisal of how things are in Belarus, how things have changed more to the point since late February this year. I'm just going to cover two things. One is the economy, and this is all anecdotes and my own experiences and what I see. So I'm not looking at data or anything like this. And the second thing are prices. And I will say that I am pretty well integrated in society here compared to most foreign people who come here. I probably have more Belarusian friends and wider social circles than most people. So I feel like I have a good grasp on what's happening. So first up with the economy. Now, right at the very start, there was a big exodus of two kinds of people. One kind of people was the IT crowd. So here in Belarus, IT is the glamour profession. People can earn incredible amounts of money doing some kind of low to mid-tier programming. I'm talking like I've met people in their 20s clearing 5,000 US a month, like not joking. And of course, not just programming, but then all the professions that come along with that, maybe marketing, HR, all this kind of stuff. They end up, if they can speak good English, they end up doing really, really well in this area. So these companies, they had tariffs put on them, right, by mainly America, but also Western Europe. So first thing that happened was for these companies, they just literally took their staff in buses and just shipped them out to anywhere from Lithuania to Poland, Armenia, Kazakhstan, and of course Georgia's always a popular one because the visas there are so kind of open and free. So that happened first of all. These really high income young people shipped out. There was also a large group of people who were panicked and worried about what would happen. They were scared about the future. Will Belarus become active in this war somehow? Will Minsk start to fall into this situation too? So a lot of these people left as well. So you had this big exodus. But everyone who was worried kind of left. And everyone else is like, I don't know, people are in this part of the world, they have this tough attitude. I mean, they've had a pretty tough go of things, right? The Slavs since, all through the communist time, wars before, during, after, they're tough, they're survivors here. So everyone else, even though they might have been very upset about what was happening, they're just like, okay, we'll stick it out. So things did drop off a little bit in terms of the economy. And then what I found is that a lot of those people who left because they were worried, they've come back. And things are pretty okay, actually, I have to say. Like, it's tough to get a job. I've heard this from a few people. It's tough to get a new job here at the moment, especially a decent job, paying reasonably well or fairly specialised. So this is kind of happening. But look, the streets are busy, the malls are busy, the cafes are busy, the restaurants are busy. The place is pumping, I have to say. And it's got a lot to do with summer. Belarusians are very sensitive to weather, and they really come out of hibernation in the summertime. So, of course, there's a lot of negative flow-on effects from missing all those IT people and some other remote people or people who can work remotely. Yeah, this is going to hurt the economy a little bit, but it's not that many people, but it is high-value jobs. So that's a problem. But in general, I think things are holding up reasonably okay, to be honest. What about prices? Because prices have been interesting because the exchange rate has had so many weird fluctuations and it's been artificially controlled by the government at the moment, which has kind of confused things a bit. So I would say in terms of price rises in the last 3.5 months, I would say that the average price increase is between 10 to 25% for non-imported goods. I would say pretty much everything has gone up either 10 or between 10 to 25%. I'll give you some examples. So I'm going down to the metro here. The one-way ticket on the metro used to be 80 kop. Now it's 90 kop. So that's an increase of whatever that is, 13 or 15%. The gym I go to, also 7 rubles for a visit if you go before 3 p.m. Now it's 8 rubles. Or if you go after 3 p.m. it was 8 rubles, now it's 10 rubles. So again, 15 to 25% there as well. Haircuts, the market haircut price for guys used to be around 8 rubles, now it's 9 rubles. So you can kind of get that sense of how prices have just kind of increased across the board. I'm just going up past the kebab here, Ramiz, very popular kebab chain here. They're Bolshoi, Klasicheska Sikritsi, large chicken kebabs have gone from 750 to 950 just in the last week. So that's an increase of about 25, even 30%. That's a good jump. So in general, things have gone up 10 to 25, even 30%. But I would say the average would be around 18 to 20%. That's about what we're looking at here. The price inflation of imported goods is a little bit more complicated because I'll talk in American dollars. So the exchange rate was around 2.5 or 2.6 Belarusian rubles to one US dollar. And the international rate and the local rate were the same. So if you were using a foreign card or a local card, you would get the same exchange rate. Now, when the war broke out, the Belarusian ruble on international markets went to about 3.35. So it depreciated around 30%. But local markets, it went to about 4 rubles was the highest it got to. So presumably at that point, the government was just trying to hoard US dollars, right? Because they're probably scared they're going to run out. That's just my guess on that. So what happened then was the international rate stayed at 3.35. Now, of course, all of the businesses in Belarus now have to pay 3.35 or 4 rubles per dollar. So you know that the prices of imported goods are going to shoot up big time. Plus, there's all those imports and tariffs and stuff that I mentioned earlier. Now, I don't buy a lot of imported goods, I have to confess. I don't buy a lot. But one thing I do buy is a deodorant from Germany, of all places. Old Spice Zero Aluminium, little red sticks. And they were in Greens, the big supermarket here. They were 11 rubles. They shot up to 18. So that's a 66 or 67% increase in that. And also my local Sasidi, just like the neighborhood mini supermarket store, they went from 11 up to 15. So around 35% or so increase. So, but then what happened was, and things are kind of out of control at that point, right? You rock up to the supermarket and deodorant is 70% more expensive. It's like, I just might smell then. How's that? Like, it's a big increase. So, but again, overall, in the supermarket environment, the basics, again, kind of 15 to 20% would be your average increase. That's kind of manageable, but only just, right? Only just. So then what happened was, I think the government here realised, hey, this inflation stuff is really destabilising, politically destabilising and really decreasing living standards of Belarusian people. So what they did then, as the international rate stayed at about 3.35, they changed the local rate from 4 rubles, or 3.9 rubles per US dollar, down to 2.5. It's currently about 2.6, right? So of course what this does is it makes imports cheaper, which should help with inflation. Now, inflation didn't seem to reverse, but what did happen is it seems that price rises have kind of halted a little bit. In fact, a lot. But they haven't reversed back to what they were before the beginning of all this conflict. So you got this strange, weird kind of exchange rate system. And I don't know what the true market rate would be, but it doesn't matter now because the government's kind of controlling the rate here to try and keep those imports a little bit cheaper and stop that inflation from happening. And for a little while, this was working out really, really well for foreigners because we were getting the foreign exchange rate. So we were swapping at 3.35 rubles for 1 US dollar. Meanwhile, the local rate was 2.5 or 2.6. So this is working really, really well. We're able to withdraw money. And as a result, we could draw money at the good exchange rate and then pay for things like rent in US dollars, because rent is paid in US dollars. Well, it's recorded in US dollars. You can pay rubles or dollars, but when you have an agreement on a contract, you don't sign up for rubles, you sign up in dollars, US dollars. But now they've cut all that off. So now they're really controlling the international markets. I noticed that Visa and MasterCard International are now both copying the government rate as well, which is, I think, around 2.6 rubles per US dollar. So in summary, in terms of the economy, yeah, things are a bit darker here. But places are staying open. I haven't noticed anywhere close. So that's a very good sign. And everyone I know still has a job. So that's a pretty good sign as well. But definitely that brain drain of the 20-something IT guys, this really, really hurts. So, and it's just kind of more material to motivate people to potentially move abroad and get higher salaries. Because, you know, the upwardly mobile people in Belarus, they're very aware that they're not getting great salaries by international standards. So there's a small number of those that really aspire to that higher living standards. And price rises, I didn't mention one thing earlier about price rises. Yes, most prices have gone up 15 to 20%, as I said, but rents have gone down, and down quite a bit. I've got another video showing you my apartment, and my apartment rent is only $400 per month. It used to be 500. Like 2 months ago, I was paying 500, negotiated down to 400. Pre-COVID, this same apartment was about $800. So it's halved over the course of 2 years, when of course the price of goods and services has actually gone up in that time. So the real value of the rent is probably about a third of what it was. So if you lead a fairly humble lifestyle, probably you'll find that your living standards are actually about the same here, unless you're of course an owner of an apartment, in which case you're in a bit of trouble. But for everyone else, they're probably about the same off if you're renting. If you're not renting, then it's a 15 or 20% decrease in living standards.